So I'm going to tell you a very interesting thing. So we started it with the whole like vision of saying we're going to franchise. That was on like
Beautiful.
the get go. Literally, my first kicker, the product had franchising on it. So the whole
Oh,
reason why MacMo was started was for it to become a franchise. But obviously, what do you franchise? You can't say I want to own a franchise, but you're not owning anything in particular. You need a product to franchise. So that's why the product, when it started, that was the vision for it. And yeah, that's literally how it started. But also, just a very interesting fact for you to know that it was started in the back room. You're quite correct. And we sold the first 9 franchises from the back room. So we before we moved to the factory, we already had franchisees
mm,
from the back room, from the get-go. So that's how it was done. The initial phase, obviously, in terms of taking the product into the market, we didn't sell that as a franchise. Obviously, what you need to do in franchising is testing and trialing. So we had to get the first employee, get them to go sell so that we can sort of know in a day, this is how much you can make. So that by the time you're selling it as a franchise, the promise is backed by numbers. It's got historical data. So we literally just collected data for about a month and a half, and we went on to sell the first franchise.
beautiful, beautiful. So, how do you develop? Because more than anything, you are in the business of actually building entrepreneurs, right? How do
Yeah.
you build um, training and education around training them and equipping them? Because the typical thinking would be it's long processes. Are you a certified facilitator for that? Are your programs certified with ever and whatever? How does that go?
So the nice thing about franchising is that you are forced to basically create the educational part. You are secondly
Mm,
forced to basically create the contractual part, in a sense that you need your franchise manual, your operations manual, where you basically tell the people how to sell the product, how to handle the product. So that is forced on just by you saying you want to be a franchisor, forced on you. You have to do it. So my view is that you need to simplify it, and how I've simplified it is I've approached it more as a micro franchise versus as a mainstream franchise.
of
The
course.
core for us is obviously to, because we understand the caliber of people we're dealing with. It's not every day that I sell a franchise to a person who's got a degree and has corporate experience. Some of my franchisees have minimal education. It will be a person with a matric. It will be a person who has never operated in a business. So at the end of the day, you need to simplify it. You need stuff which basically speak to sort of the market that you're targeting. And as I said to you, remember, my people also, so my franchisees don't need to worry about things which other franchisees would typically need to worry about. So they don't need to worry
Mm,
about certification because we've ensured that the product is certified. They don't need to worry about health and safety because we've ensured that our factory is compliant to health and safety. We've got a certificate of
yeah.
acceptability with the city. We've got, for example, stuff like a halal accreditation. So we basically simplify their lives, and we sort of get them to a point where their training is really limited to training them about sales, training them about the product, training them about how to acquire new clients. And that's really what we try and limit it to at this point in time so that they can thrive. I think that obviously, as I said to you, remember franchising is really a new thing for us as a people. It's a really new thing. I think it's been done before, and I always refer to the taxi industry. If you think about the taxi industry, it's probably one of the main industries where we've seen African people participate in, and I think I'll reduce it even to South Africans. Where we started seeing black South African families be successful. It was really more through that model, of taxis, where taxis you sort of know you've got a route, that I cannot charge over X amount. This is how much it's charged for dropping a person from point A to point B. You sort of know that your taxi is aligned to the rules of the association that you fall under. So it's really a franchise model, and Also, with the taxi, you don't wake up and just buy a taxi and put it in. You go through an application process. You let the board know that you're buying a new taxi. You're going to be putting it in. You know, so it's really a model. It's a model which we thrived in. But the reason why we managed to thrive in it is that it was simplified. It was not complex. You could have a person who comes from nowhere, gets a permit, gets to buy their first taxi, and soon before you know it, they own 10 taxis, 20 taxis, and they're thriving. So I just think that obviously you must have rules, you must have training, you must have a consistency, and those are the key things that we've sort of tried to do. And my advice would be to anyone who sort of wants to start their business and really focus on franchising, it would really be more on first understand what it is you're doing, know that you're doing it right. The moment you think that you are doing it right, try to find a second person to do it, like to sort of copy and paste exactly what you're doing in a different area, you know, for a different market, you know. And if they can do it, then you literally got results which are almost the same in different sites, into different markets. I think you're ready to franchise. I think you should not wait. I think then you need to start doing simple things like creating a process of saying, so getting your processes in order. So let's make an example. You sell potatoes. I don't know. I love potatoes for a reason as an example. If you sell potatoes, so one of the key things that I would do is that I would first look at in terms of what time do I wake up and start selling. Okay? What time do I wake up and start selling? Write that down in terms of what time you start selling. Number two, where do I sell? What's the market I'm selling to? So where I sell, for example, it's a taxi rank. There's over 5,000 people in every hour that literally pass where I am. Tell the second person. So you write it down. You need an area that has a minimum of 5,000 people. Number three, the quality of potatoes I buy is normally a class A or class B or class C, whatever the potatoes are graded as. Those are the potatoes I buy. Those are the potatoes I stick to, because based on those potatoes that I've been selling for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, customers keep coming back. So that's the quality that I'm going to link my product to. You're right. These are the products, these are the potatoes we sell. This is the brand that we basically buy and sell. And then also, what plastic are we using? Is that plastic good? Is it perforated? It's got holes, obviously not perforated. So the potatoes don't become soggy and stuff. We only use a plastic which is perforated. Number three, you know, so you'd write down all those processes and you'd say, in order for you to succeed and make 75 Rand every day, you buy potatoes at 50 Rand. This is what franchising just means copy and paste. It just means copy it exactly the way I do it, paste it, do it exactly the way I'm doing it, and these are the results you can sort of expect to meet, you know. So I think there's obviously a lot of jargon, there's obviously a lot of complexities that people throw in, and people are sort of demotivated by that jargon and all of that stuff that people throw in, and they feel like it's impossible to sort of do it, but it really isn't. It's simple. If you cut people's hair, it's how much do you charge? Your barbers, what sort of training do they have? You give them that necessary training. I mean, you teach them, this is how I cut hair. If it's a fade, this is how I do a fade. You use these machines. These are the machines that I use to do a fade. The branding of my salon, this is the branding it has. Go with these colors. It looks like people are excited about these colors. Use this chemical when you spray them. It smells good. It looks like people like the way it smells. And they're actually willing to pay more money because it smells like this, you know? And really that is, simply put, that's what franchising is.